this recording, we're going to talk about how to graph quadratic functions that are in standard form, and also how to convert equations that are in standard form to vertex form of quadratic functions. So first of all, let's talk about some of the properties of quadratic functions that will help us when we graph. When the a value is less than 0, so when you have a negative a value, your graph will open downward. When your a value is greater than 0, so you have a positive number, it will open up. The next important thing you need to know is that the axis of symmetry can be found at x equals negative b over 2a. The y-intercept will be found at 0, c, and the vertex is negative b over 2a, and then when you substitute that into your original equation, whatever your output for y is, that's where your vertex is located. Quadratic functions, remember, also have a minimum value if they open up, and if they open down, they have a maximum value. So to graph, the first thing you want to do is list the a, b, and c. I like to do that. And then find the axis of symmetry and graph that. So remember, the axis of symmetry is at negative b over 2a, and you graph that vertical line there. And then once you have that, to find the vertex, you substitute this value in to the original equation. So let me write that down. We'll add that down. Substitute this value into the original equation. And then you can plot that point. And then you can find your y-intercept. It's at 0, c, graph that and reflect that. And then you want to plug in a few more values or substitute in another x value or two and graph those and reflect. So let me show you how this works. So we have the equation y equals 2x squared minus 8x plus 6. Your a value is 2, your b value is negative 8, and your c value is 6. Those are just the coefficients there, and then the constant at the end. So we're going to find the axis of symmetry. So that is x equals negative b over 2a. So negative b is a negative 8 over 2 times a. And now we simplify that. So that would be 8 over 4, which is 2. So the axis of symmetry is the line x equals 2. So you graph that. And now we know the vertex is somewhere on here. So at the vertex, we're looking at that coordinate for the vertex, the x value is going to be 2. So we're going to substitute 2 in for x in the original equation. It's kind of like if you had an xy chart and you want to substitute in 2. So we're just going to substitute in the 2. Y equals 2 times 2 squared minus 8 times 2 plus 6. So that'd be 2 times 4 minus 16 plus 6. So 8 minus 16 is a negative 8 plus 6, which would be a negative 2. So when we substitute in 2, the output is a negative 2. So your vertex then would be at 2, negative 2. So over 2, down 2. Now, keep in mind, the a value is positive, so that is going to open up. So if we are graphing, if we have any points that are down below, we know we've made a mistake. And we need some more points. So next, the y-intercept, remember we said that's at 0, c. Your c value is right here. It's 6. So it would be at 0, 6. So you can plot that. Now that is 2 units away from the axis of symmetry, so just move 2 units to the other side, and there you have another point. And then we want to have one more point, so we're going to substitute in another x value. So let's say pick something close to the axis of symmetry. Let's substitute 1 in. So if I substitute in a 1, I would have y equals 2 times 1 squared minus 8 times 1 plus 6. So again, we substitute back into your original equation. So that's 2 minus 8 plus 6. And that gives you 0. So when we substitute in 1, the output is 0. So 1, 0, and then we reflect that over, and there is your parabola. The minimum here would be at -2, so we would say your range, your outputs, would be y would be greater than or equal to -2. You don't have any y's that are lower than this, any outputs that would be lower than that. All right, let's do another one. First, write down A, B, C. 1, 2, -8. Now we need to find the axis of symmetry. And that is x equals -b over 2a. So it would be -2 over 2 times 1. So -2 over 2, that would be -1. So we'll draw a line at x equals -1. There's your axis of symmetry. Now to find the vertex, we're going to substitute this back into the original equation. Now when you do that, when you're substituting in a negative, make sure you put parentheses around it. And so -1 quantity squared is 1, minus 2 minus 8. So that gives you a -9. So when we plugged in a -1, out came a -9. So the vertex is at -1, -9, right here. Your y-intercept is at 0c. 0c, which is -8. So you can plot that and reflect that over. And then we have to plot some more points in. So think of it as an XY chart. We want to substitute something else in. Now we know at 0 where your output is. We know at -2 where your output is. So let's plug 1 in. So we substitute 1 in. We would have y equals 1 squared plus 2 times 1 minus 8. So 1 plus 2 minus 8. You get a -5. So at 1, we're at -5. And there we go. All right, one more thing I want to talk about, well, another thing I want to talk about is what is vertex form of this equation that is in standard form. So what we need to do is find the vertex using the same method that we used in the last two problems, and then we'll substitute that into the vertex form of an equation. So write down your ABC. And to find the vertex, we start out by looking for the axis of symmetry. So x equals -b over 2a. So it's -4 over 2 times a -1, which is a +2. So the axis of symmetry is at +2. And to find where the vertex is, then we're going to substitute 2 into the original equation. So that would be -4 plus 8 minus 5, which is 4 minus 5, you get -1. So when the input was a 2, the output is -1. So that is the vertex. Remember when we write an equation in vertex form, the general form is a x minus h quantity squared plus k. Your vertex is hk. So if this is the vertex, that would be the h and the k. So to write the equation, you have to substitute in your a, which look over here, your a is a -1. You substitute in the a, the h, and the k, so it would be -1 times the quantity x minus h squared plus k, which is a -1. And that is your equation. That is the same graph, but it's just written in different form. So this is standard form, this is vertex form. And the last thing we're going to do is take an equation that is in standard form, and we're going to convert it to, it's in vertex form. We're going to convert it to standard form. So to do that, we have to multiply it out. So let's rewrite that. F of x equals 4. Now, x minus 1 quantity squared is the same as this. So the first thing I'm going to do is just distribute the 4 through the first term. So it would be 4x minus 4 times x minus 1 plus 9. So now we have a binomial times a binomial. So if you remember back, the method we use is called FOIL, which is really double distributing. So you take the first times the first, which is 4x squared, and then the outer two, which would be 4x times minus 1. And then you multiply the inner two, which is minus 4x, and then the last. And then you still have plus 9 at the end. Now we combine like terms. And that is it. We are now in standard form. So we started in vertex form, and that's how you convert to standard form. And that's the end of this lesson. So let me know if you have questions. Thanks for watching.